Welcome back, DNA Strand Crew, to another episode of the Fantasy Dynasty Autopsy. The Dynasty DNA doctors are in the house. I am your head surgeon, Michael the Pharaoh Shanuda. You can follow me on Twitter at Shanu471. And always my co-head surgeon to the left of me, Tessierja. Tessierja91 is his name on Twitter. Tessierja, how are we feeling today?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I mean, everyone should be feeling good around the club board. I mean, Zay Flowers got his bag, Bijan Robinson got his bag, and hopefully we get our bag tonight with covering the Washington Commanders and really breaking down this team before preseason gets underway in the season, therefore ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys didn't see our thumbnail today, we are talking about left hand up. We are the Commanders. I think this is a good team to start out with before the season starts. There's a lot of conversation about this team, right? We also put our poll question up today. We'll get to that in a minute. But me and Tessierja, as Tessierja is wearing the Washington Commanders jersey right now. Who are you wearing today, Tessierja, by the way? I didn't even see the number.
It's a Chase Young, number 99, former first-round draft pick. Deep cut. I like my defensive players.
Hey, that's a very good jersey. I haven't seen a Chase Young one in a while, obviously being in the DMV area.
That was a failed first-round pick on there. Or maybe it was just a failed team that failed a player, but
I think it just was a failed both ways. Let's be honest. They were doing the Ron Rivera thing. It was not great. It just all crumbled. So
he was pretty looking good coming out of college too.
Yeah, and I think like you said, I think it was just the team, the situation, the whole Dwayne Haskins thing. It was just a whole mess from the beginning. And now that they turned the page, we are now on to the team in 2026, and starting with their head coach and then their new offensive coordinator, who you know very well.
Do you want to start the head coach? Do you think he's on the hot seat this year?
Well, that's before this whole thing started. I may or may not hinted. Dan Quinn is his name. Dan Quinn. Because Dan Quinn does this every year, right? He has this magical year, and then the next year he sucks, and then the next year it's kind of mediocre, and then the year after that it's mediocre as well. But let's be honest, I don't think he's done this franchise any favors other than getting to that NFC Championship game, which is great, and I love it. But he has like the 2009 All-Star team on defense.
He did get him to two. One against the Lions and one against the Eagles.
What? Hey, look, we don't need to bring up old memories to share. I'm just saying one NFC Championship game. That is an actual NFC Championship game. Now, was the other game their Super Bowl? I believe so. But I believe Dan Quinn is a good coach. I just believe that this roster is very old. I don't think this roster is going to be something that they're going to be happy with around Jayden Daniels. What's your take to share on Dan Quinn overall as a coach in Washington and how this roster is constructed by Adam Peters and him?
Yeah, well, I'm getting into that. If you could, by chance, look up how much longer he has on his contract, if he's due for an extension soon or not. Because if I were to put my GM cap on it, I would at least give him another 2 to 3 years, at least play out the Jayden Daniels rookie contract and see where they want to go from there. If a team doesn't make strides this year on the defensive side of the ball, and if there isn't shown any progress or some sort of like glimpses of hope for the team on offense, I think it definitely should be in consideration. I mean, granted of where he got you to multiple NFC Championship games, multiple playoff appearances, there's also still that overhanging narrative of he just isn't a guy that can get you through and over the hump. I know it was nice he was able to do it with the Falcons, and that was a different time and a different team. But with the Commanders, I just personally think that depending on his contract situation, I say you let it see its course and run through with this Jayden Daniels contract, because at the end of the day, if they end up moving on from Jayden at some point and it doesn't work out or what have you. I mean, they've had such terrible luck at quarterbacks with Alex Smith getting hurt and Jayden Daniels getting hurt and just going through a plethora of other quarterbacks. It hasn't really put this coaching staff up for most consistent success. And it doesn't really help that before the current regime that's in control of the team now, just that Dan Snyder era was just a huge stain on the team, and it was a lot of misuse and misguided allocations of resources year in and year out, every offseason and every draft. So I'm hopeful for Dan Quinn this year, but realistically, I think this is going to be a season that, if he isn't already put on the hot seat, the temperature gets turned up a little bit more for sure.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure about if the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator are really things that move the needle for this team in either direction. I mean, again, another new OC on a younger team with a young quarterback. We'll just hope for the best, but temper expectations. And on that defense, like you mentioned, it's an aging group of veterans that have a lot of tread on the tire, and to get them through a 17-game season will be impressive. But the likelihood that all these guys stay healthy is going to be a tall ask for the Commanders. So hopefully they can rally the troops. They're in a tough division again. The Cowboys got better, the Eagles got better, the Giants are getting better. So the Commanders have to really hold water and really tread carefully with their season. Otherwise, it could completely go from underneath them.
Right. And to answer your question earlier, he had 5 seasons on his contract to start out with, so this is the third in the 5-year contract.
Okay.
And to even wrap what you were saying up, right? It's like we had one good year, we had one bad year. So now it's like the one bad year, you can blame it on Jayden Daniels getting hurt. You can blame on all these guys getting hurt. The whole Terry McLaurin contract situation was a very big bugaboo in training camp. Now everybody's in the building. But you're right, and let's talk about these new coordinators, right? And David Blau, the backup quarterback who used to be for your Lions and all that stuff, but he was the quarterbacks coach in Washington D.C. There for a minute. He has been around the league. He's been coaching for a little bit now. Do we believe that he has the chops to get to Jayden Daniels, to get him over that hump, to have that rookie season again that we all believed in Jayden Daniels from the beginning? Or do you believe it's like, oh, this is a placeholder until we get the real guy?
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical. I mean, this is his first time getting a job of this caliber, this magnitude. I mean, quarterbacks coach is nice, but you're not really working for the full entirety of the offense. I mean, give him his credit. He was working with Jayden Daniels his rookie year, so he was able to watch him from afar and get a rapport with him in a different scope. But I don't see him being any better than Cliff Kingsbury, but I don't think he could be, absolutely terrible. I think this is going to be a lot of growing pains this year for him and for Jayden Daniels. And, with the pass catchers, as we'll get into later, and the running back room, it's going to be a tall ask for a new OC to, one, get this team to the playoffs again, two, take the division, and C, get over the hump of getting them to a Super Bowl again. So, I would temper expectations. I don't have high hopes for him, but I'm not exactly just completely writing him off. I'm just a bit skeptical of it all coming together in the first year.
Right. And I look, and the biggest thing that I enjoyed watching with Cliff Kingsbury's offense is the pace of play, right? They were moving fast, they were doing a lot of no huddle, they were going into these different sets. They were maximizing Jayden's abilities. Now, having David Blau being the guy there that when he was there his rookie year from last year, all that stuff helps. But like you said, it's tough transitioning even from a quarterback's coach to an offensive coordinator, right? I mean, we saw with who was it? Zach Robinson from the Rams. We've seen it from actually KOC did pretty well. KOC actually, I think he went from a quarterback's coach straight to a head coaching job. But for every KOC, you have 3 guys who just never work out. So I'm not trying to sit here and say it's going to be a failed project. I think it's a lot of what can they do to maximize his talents in terms of Jayden Daniels, and as well as the defensive coordinators. Now that they got Sony Styles, they got all these different pieces in the offseason. They got younger on the defensive line as well.
Yeah, do we want to go through all of the additions this offseason via the drafted and free agency?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they did a lot. They spent quite a bit of money this offseason, and they obviously let some people go. But all in all, I think it was a very active offseason so far for these Commanders.
Right. I mean, we could talk about the offense real quick. I mean, Chig Okonkwo, we love Rashard White. They brought back Marcus Mariota, Jerome Ford. So they kind of got some depth there at the position. But the biggest ones, like you said, was definitely on the defensive side. I mean, they got Tim Settle. They got Chisholm, the guy for the defensive end from the Patriots, who's really good. The biggest offseason move was Odif Owe, if I'm saying that correct. The 4-year.
Your guess. I'm not good with
He
pronunciations. Bob would be the better.
Bob
one
is
to ask.
better, and here's the difference: is because I know this guy. He was a terror in Baltimore, and he was one of the best defensive ends from there. So I think with him, a 4-year, $100 million deal, they shirt it up. They bring back Kinlaw. They have the defensive side kind of shirt up. So we really do love that the defense got younger, right? I mean, they turned the page because we talked about it being like the 29 All-Star team back in the day. So with this, and then
what was your favorite acquisition via the draft or free agency or trade that the Commanders did?
I'm not gonna lie. I was in love with Sonny Styles' tape.
That was a good one.
He is a beast, and I have so many friends who.
And Fred Warner's coming back, correct? So he'll be working between Warner
and Bob?
You
mean Bobby Wagner?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. Oh, we got somebody who's saying Bob came in. Davey away. Davey away. There you go. Thanks, Bob.
Our human translator on hand.
He's saying Chig should blow up. We never know what's happening until they play some ball. Cliff was figured out 3 years ago. Blah, at least it's fresh blood. I actually like what he said there. I'm not
very
saying
good points, and he's not wrong at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I personally like what they did off there. And like I'm going to go back to Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles fits Darnell Jones' system where he came from the Minnesota Vikings. I think all those things they're going to just use him as a chess piece. So what about you? Who did you think was the best offseason acquisition?
I got one on offense and one on defense. My defensive side of the ball was Nick Cross coming over from the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's a very solid secondary player. I think he's going to do some damage and help rectify some of the deficiencies that secondary had. I mean, he's not going to be a Band-Aid cover all over everything, but he's definitely a great acquisition comparatively to what they've had in the past. And the secondary of a lot of plug-and-play guys kind of just patching it together. I think Nick Cross will be a good stabilizer and anchor on the defensive side of the ball to try to keep the game in front of everything and not have the top blowing off of them. And I think Sonny Styles can learn a lot with Nick Cross behind him on that defense. Then on the offensive side of the ball, my favorite offseason acquisition was Chigaquanko.
Yeah, that was easy.
Because the way it's looking like in training camp and practices, he's basically a wide receiver too. And it's kind of demoralizing when you got the rest of your wide receiver core not stepping up, and you have to have a tight end play that role on top of doing blocking and all that other stuff that a tight end does. So those are my two guys that really stood out to me for them in this offseason.
I love it, and we could go right into it. Right, we could start talking about this offense, and I mean, we talked at length about the defense. The biggest question tonight, guys, if you haven't seen our poll question, is about Jayden Daniels. Obviously, we talked ad nauseum about how his rookie season compared to his sophomore season. Obviously, his sophomore season was a very injury ridden, but like even before then, he wasn't really looking like himself. I mean, he had that good game against the Giants, then the Bears fiasco, then and then the whole Packers fiasco.
Well, I always thought it was a mistake for them to put him back in there. I think
it was crazy.
He was seriously hurt, and they just needed to shut him down. But hubris got the better of this organization and trying to save jobs or what have you. But I think I'm wondering. My question would be is like, do you think he's fully healthy? He's fully recovered?
Oh yeah.
For year 3 or where you have it with it?
So I'm a big component of watching these Hard Knocks and the quarterback documentaries that they put on Netflix and HBO. So I watched it in nauseum, the quarterback this year, which was Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward, Joe Flacco, Jayden Daniels, and I think those were the 4, if I'm not mistaken. The reason why I'm saying that is because you said it best. Like, it wasn't just organization, right? It's the competitiveness of Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels wants to be out there to prove his rookie season was a fluke. He was a good quarterback, blah blah blah. But sometimes you have to protect the player from himself. And the reason why I'm segueing to what you were saying, they do kind of like a peek behind the curtain of the off season, and he's fully healthy, he's fully ready to go, he's fully going through the motions. I think personally, from what I'm hearing in training camp, he is throwing the ball like normal, he's running like normal, he doesn't have any fear of that arm or even his legs. Like he's ready to rock. And I think David Blau, this is where I'm saying I need to see more and see what he's bringing. What are they going to utilize? Are they going to utilize the RPO option? Are they going to try to make him a pocket passer so he doesn't get hit as much? We saw that kind of with Jalen Hurts, right? A little bit. It's like, yeah, he does the tush push, whatever. He's behind a big offensive line. Nobody's going to hurt him. But his rushing numbers went down, and he's trying to be this pocket passer. To his credit, he's an okay pocket passer, but his value is through his legs. So for me, if Jayden Daniels is fully healthy, he better be running a little bit because, like, we'll talk about the running backs. These are nice additions and stuff like that. But the real threat is Jayden going to throw the ball or is he going to run the ball? So for
Do you
me,
have an inkling of whether you believe that his legs are going to be his primary fantasy motivator, or is it going to be through his arm talent and his passing this season?
I think it's going to be his value if he wants to be a top 3 quarterback or a top 5 quarterback, like we're saying. Because, I mean, you can automatically put 2 guys in there, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Who are the other 2? You have Joe Burrow and you have Jalen Hurts and you have Jayden Daniels, right? And then you might have the Staffords. You might have the Caleb Williams. You might have the Drake Mays. His differentiator between those quarterbacks than the other 4 that I just said is going to be his legs. He's got to move his legs. He's got to get the rushing yards. He's got to do a little bit of bootleg fakes with whoever's at running back. I think that's where he is. For me, I believe he's the top 5 quarterback in Dynasty again this year. I believe David Blau, and I feel like Dan Quinn, if he's fully healthy, they're going to optimize his legs and his passing ability to understand that defenses need to respect his legs, and they're not going to be like, oh, he's a pocket passer, like Matthew Stafford, right? And Matthew Stafford, to his credit, people know he's not running, and he's still dissecting. But I don't think Jayden Daniels obviously is to the level of maturity and cerebral, like, awareness of where to throw passes as Matthew Stafford. That just comes with time. So that's where I'm at. What do you feel about Jayden Daniels' health, where he could land this season? And personally, I'll say it, I'm buying Jayden Daniels. Are you buying him or are you selling him?
I have him already on quite a bit of roster. I'm just holding. I'm not actively pursuing him and trying to trade for him and give up future capital to get him or any players on my team. And I'm not necessarily selling him or want to sell him. I think he's just kind of staying put on my rosters. I talked about it on the deep dive a little bit. I'd like to have him on my teams more as a quarterback 2 than as my quarterback 1, if possible. I'd like to put one of those other guys that you have aforementioned, or like the Dak Prescott, the Brock Purdy's, Trevor Lawrence's, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, some other more stabilizer quarterback in my room ahead of him. I think he can finish as a top 10 quarterback this year. I'm not as bullish just because of the David Blau system. We need to see it, like you mentioned. But for me, what's going to just expedite his development and his fantasy output this year is going to be his arm. Like, he's going to have to become more accurate. The completion percentage has to go up. He's got to be able to nail that deep ball and be more efficient in the red zone and finding his targets and being a more precise and surgical quarterback. Because if I'm the GM, I want to protect my top asset, and that's Jayden Daniels on my offense. Because if he goes down again, it's going to be a bad season for these Commanders. So I like to see them rely more on his arm and his what he's got going between the ears, and not so much just scrambling and trying to make plays and being like playing hero ball like he did a lot of his rookie season, which for us in fantasy we had liked and enjoyed, but it was kind of short lived because we paid the piper here in his second year with the injuries. I think that Jayden Daniels' biggest bugaboo is staying healthy, and to do that, they just need to really preserve him and utilize different assets of his game and get better there than just trying to recklessly. I think just don't be reckless.
Yeah, and I think really it's mind over matter, right? You just got to make sure you understand this is a long game, and I think Bob said it in the chat. The O-line
Mm-hmm.
is very underrated. I think they have one of the better O-lines in the NFL. I think you
Mm-hmm.
got to utilize that. Be behind the hog mollies. Be able to throw the pass. Because at the end of the day, if they're in cover two,
I mean,
run up
they
the
are a
run up the
team that
middle.
has one of the perennial like check down pass catching running backs on their roster. They got Jeremy McNichols, which is no scrub. Jerome Ford, he can catch the ball, and Rashard White. I think they got all kinds of guys back there that they can utilize in the backfield to help Jayden Daniels not feel as so anxious or panicked to just run and take off with it, to be able to do a security route or security blanket. And I think having Chig there too is going to really, be one of those chain moving red zone target, like just, perennial Washington tight end that just is very effective and very efficient in
Yeah.
scoring situations.
I mean, we had three of the better tight ends come from Washington. They had
Mm-hmm.
Chris Cooley, they had Jordan Reed, that amazing season. Fred Davis, one of my favorite ones. I believe in Jayden Daniels, and so for me to share, I'm going to name you the quarterbacks. You tell me where he is on your rankings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with the people in his class, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Him or Bo Nix?
Jayden Daniels.
Him or your boy Caleb Williams? Wow. I didn't even get. I already know the Drake May answer, but I wanted to see where him and the Caleb was.
I think I'm gonna go Caleb Williams. I'm gonna give that to
Wow.
Caleb.
Okay. That's wild. And then of
Just better
course,
weapons, better offensive mind, better coach. I gotta go with that and the intangibles.
yep. And I'm assuming Drake May over Jayden.
Yep, Drake May over Jayden.
Yeah, that was easy. I figured that one was going to be yours. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
I believe the only person I'm putting him
I mean, the
over.
gap isn't huge between Caleb
No,
and
no.
Jayden for me. That's why I had to take a pause, because I saw multiple avenues where they could finish 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, like right behind one another.
Yeah, and I love it. And I think that's going to be the question this year, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody is in love with Drake May, but in personal circles, like for me, I feel like it's Drake May, Caleb, and Jayden. Where they're going to all land, especially in Bo. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these four quarterbacks we're going to talk about for years, and I feel like all four can have great careers, and all could be. It could be better than that draft class in '04 where we had Eli, Phillip, and
Mm-hmm.
Ben. Like it, shit, even the whole Josh. We had Josh Allen, Baker, Darnold. We're getting
Mm-hmm.
a lot of good classes, and I feel like this is one of the premier classes. So we'll see how Jayden Daniels does this season. Guys, please comment below and everywhere you see that post. By the way, we want to hear from you where you think he's going to rank top 5. You're buying, you're selling. We want to answer those questions for you as
Mm-hmm.
well. But Tessierja kind of brought into this as well. The running back situation, right? There's Jeremy McNichols who's been there. We know about Krosky Merritt. We talked about White and we talked about Ford being added to the roster. And we know about Fat Man Scoop, who's on this team too, who was in the draft, and I love talking about him as well. Tessierja, if you had to blind pick right now, who is the running back in this offense that you're buying if you're a contender and saying this guy as a flex play or a bench stash can become something for my team in Dynasty?
Okay. So my running back for the Commanders of right now is Rashad White. That's the guy I'm buying to get in my flex spot and as an emergency fill-in for running back 2 for bye weeks and injuries, but I can flex here and there. Again, I talked about it a bit more in detail on the NFC East deep dive that we did early last week. If you haven't, go check it out. It's in 2 parts. It's very informative and very entertaining, and it covers the Commanders pretty thoroughly by myself, Ty, TJ, and Bob. I think that Rashad White has the best path to being on the field the most out of these running backs to start right away in 2026. I feel like he'll be the passing down, the third down, and the goal to go back. I'm not entirely writing off Bill at the moment. I think he'll have his role and he'll be the change of pace, the flashback, the explosive play running back. But the way I'm breaking up this running back room and how I'm dissecting it, if I'm a contender, I'm rolling with Rashad White. But I think the future of the running back position for the Commanders is Katron Allen, and I'm willing to take him in rookie drafts right now and let him sit on my taxi spot for a year or two until that running back room thins itself out, because I think he's going to be more of the future and staying on that team in the long term than the turnover that could come with, Jerome Ford finding a new team or retiring, Rachaad White finding a new team, retiring, or whatnot. I think that the long-term investment on this roster at running back is to go the Katron Allen route. And for contenders, the short-term investment would to be go get Rachaad White. You could probably get him for cheap, and in startups, you could probably just throw him up on the end of your bench at the end of your drafts and have him as your rotation as your fourth or fifth running back on your team.
I like it. I like the White pick, right? I think they brought in White not just to have as just a fill-in. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I think, like, from what I've read in practice, and we talked about it, right? Bob put it in the chat as well. It's like the offensive line got better. He checks down. He needs to check down the ball faster in terms of Jayden Daniels, who is a guy that can do all those things, who can block, who can get check downs, who can run up the middle. I think that's White. Look, and I'm not here saying Bill Krosky Merritt is not going to be a thing anymore. I just feel like he's not as.
What do you think the workloads to at the start of the season to towards the end of the season between those two guys?
55, 45 to White, and that's where I'm gonna start. And and this is me saying that, but I'm gonna take a 5 from both of them and give 10% to either McNichols or Ford, and then to start. This is to start, right?
Yeah, to start.
Katron Allen comes in, gets his 30%. Bill goes down, or who did I say? I said the 10% goes to McNichols and Ford. I think that goes away. So that goes to Katron, and then 10% from both of them again goes to Allen, and I believe Allen has a postseason surge,
kind of like how we saw Bill do later on last season.
Right, but he did it like in the middle. I'm talking about the end, and he
when the season's kind of lost and they're just trying to fill
exactly and see what they have. And like you said it, this division is tough. I believe that it's between two teams that are hoping for a chance.
It's going to be hard to run the ball against because a lot of these front four in this division is very tough, very stout, and very
crazy.
And it seems like the Commanders have, outside of the veterans, I just think that their running back room lacks a lot of just experience as far as like doing competitive football. Like, Jerome Ford stuck on the Browns for the longest time, so he's kind of playing losing football. And obviously McNichols has been part of the team, and it's been kind of losing for, a year or so. But and Rachaad White just could not catch a break in Tampa because they were trying to make Bucky Irving a thing. So it's a lot of snake bitten fortune for these guys. But, I think the way it shakes out is Bill could finish as a running back 3 with low end running back 2 upside. Rachaad White can finish as a, same thing, running back 3 with the low end running back 2 upside. But I think the guy that could be the home run hit by the end of the year, like I was saying, is Katron Allen. Is the one that you're going to want to have on your rosters going into 2027.
And I don't think they cost you that much at the end, right? I mean, like you said,
I like Bob's input here too, because there's a very, I would say above 50% chance that yes, the running back of the future isn't on the team.
I 100% agree. I think right now, if I'm a contender, I'm going to go with the sure guy in his role, and I think that's White. And then, like you said, I think Allen is somebody that I'm looking in rounds 2 through 3 in rookie drafts and be like, who would I rather have, him?
Because if you already have like a Jonathan Taylor and like a
exactly,
ETN, and you just want to have another back to take a dart throw on,
you just put him on the end of your taxi squad and see what happens. I mean, let's be honest.
Let's get a little Bob with this and be like, with this offensive line, how do their skill set and their experience, which of these running backs do they cater best to? Like between the tackles, the outside the tackles.
I think personally,
yardage, like.
I think
which running back benefits from the style of play from this offensive line.
To be honest, I still think White. I still think the offensive line helps the outside corners, and I think They want to keep the tackles where they are because of Jayden Daniels, which helps a guy like White who wants to catch the ball out of the backfield. Kind of do the whole, like, I'm going to go out and hit a defensive end, then I'm going to motion out, and then my running back gets the ball, and we're going straight up. And then you could go in the middle as well with him. And I'm not saying their guards are the best, their center, but at the same time,
they're competent enough to,
exactly. And I look, we saw what happened with Bill. Bill imploded, and there's a reason for that. I think this offense fits White a little bit more, in my opinion. And we'll see Allen, and Allen has the same profile as White.
What is playing also in White's favor is he's the premier pass protection back too,
and
so
primary pass catcher.
So he's going to be on the field probably a lot more than those other guys, just to 100%. Protect Jayden Daniels, give that 100%. Extra layer of protection.
Speaking of protecting, and the reason why you protect that guy is because he can throw the football. So I put a little bit of thought into this wide receiver room, right? You have you have Terrell McLaurin, right?
Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, yeah.
Yep. And then you have the Antoine Williams buzz. You have De'Ami Brown that
Bob's high on him. He likes
Bob's
him. He could be a sleeper. We saw, to his credit, we saw him be like flex worthy last year for a handful of games.
Right, and and then the depth chart gets a little.
Well, we got Treylon Burks. Don't forget, he almost had the Catch of the Year nomination for that catch late in the season against the Broncos.
Best and complete. They got Luka McCaffrey. They got Jane Lane, who we really like. They have Van Jefferson, who I mean, these are the guys on the roster now. But there is a guy who's towing around in there who really loves the Commanders, who thinks he's on the team, and he wants to buy real estate in Loudoun County, where I'm from, which is right next to the facility.
He's going to be your neighbor, too. You're going to have to deal with his ice cream antics.
Oh, my God, dude.
He'll be knocking on your door like, you going to the Commanders game?
He's going to watch the games like everybody else at a fucking Buffalo Wild Wings. It doesn't fucking matter, dude. And the guy we're talking about is obviously Brandon Ayuk.
You're going to get pictures from Joey with him in the restaurant. Be like, oh, look who I saw. Look at it.
Can I be honest? Joey would take a picture with him and be like, we should sign him ASAP. And that's the funny part. And I'll be like, no, Joey, do not sign a head case who would ruin a roster in 5.5 seconds. He's already had fights with Jayden Daniels online, whether it's, I don't know if any of this is true or not. You know what I said? But like Bob said, I no chance Ayuk is anything.
He's cooked. He's more cooked than Pearsall is.
And the reason why I'm bringing him up is, do you think without him, which more than likely has happened, what is the outlook of this wide receiver room outside of Terry McLaurin? We know Terry McLaurin has his chance. We'll talk about Chig. Who out of this room do you think can be the next thing? A lot of people think it's going to be Williams. I believe Jayden Lane has a chance still. I think he has proven a lot in training camp here and there. But who do you feel like is the next man up in this wide receiver room behind F1? I know I put you on the spot. It's not easy because
short term, I don't think that person's on the roster currently. I don't think. But long term, I think it's going to be Antonio Williams, life after Terry McLaurin. I like that he landed in a great landing spot in Washington because that pool of players underneath him is just not separating. There's nothing being left to desire as far as wanting to have rostered in dynasty formats or even in redrafts. It's just a bunch of Jags, and that's kind of disturbing because if Terry McLaurin were to go down this year, I think that really, makes it a harder pitch for Jayden Daniels to finish top 10 and get the points he needs out of his arm, because there's a lot of unproven talent and a little underperforming, underwhelming talent on this team. Like Treylon Burks, is he going to resurrect his career? He had some flashes last season. Luke McCaffrey was kind of the gadget guy. He did some things here and there, but none of them were consistent enough or steady enough to warrant being rosterable or dependent on and deep runs in your leagues for fantasy. I want Terry McLaurin in this wide receiver room, and that's about it. I mean, I'm not opposed though to in rookie drafts taking a shot on Antonio Williams and having him on my bench until some of my other wide receivers on my contending rosters phase out, and maybe I can flex them later on throughout the season. But all in all, I think this Washington Commanders receiving room is a very tread with caution, temper expectations, and don't overinvest in, because it's a low floor, and I don't know if it's even a real high ceiling.
Yeah, and for me, it's like Terry McLaurin and logout. And I'm not trying to say that as
Mm-hmm.
an absolute.
Oh, hey,
But
what's
you're,
up, Drew? Thanks for
yeah,
joining
Drew,
us.
my man Drew's in the building, and to be honest, it's not. This is why we have this conversation of Jayden Daniels, right? It's like,
Which three do you like the most of what Bob, Terry, Chig, Brown? In what order do you have those?
those three. I mean,
Yeah.
it's those three, right?
Okay. Yep.
It's
Terry,
like
Chig,
Terry
Brown.
Check
Yeah.
Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I might have put Brown behind. I'm gonna hate saying this, but Treylon Burks is getting a lot of buzz,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Treylon Burks, like you said, he might not be a thing yet, and it's
It's
fine. And
kind of like the parallels of Chig in Tennessee. I just think
yeah,
he got the short end of the stick, and he just got a raw end of the deal.
he
And
was hurt all the time. It was a
mm-hmm.
weird situation. He just couldn't find his
Because he was
way.
a high prospect, if I recall.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was the guy that Tennessee traded
Mm-hmm.
for. If you do a 1-for-1 trade
Yeah.
for AJ Brown, and I mean, he had AJ Brown ability, and it's just like I said, injuries can derail a career, and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Because I
That
think
cat,
Traylon's still only 20. He's 26.
yeah,
So
he's a young guy. It's not like,
I mean,
but
he's
these,
built like an X receiver. He's 6'2", 225 pounds.
but like to share, look at what we're talking about here. Like this is ridiculous. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I'm pissed off with the Commanders organization. We
Mm-hmm.
look at the other people in his draft class, right? You have Caleb Williams, you have Roman Dunze, you have Luther Burden, you have Colston Loveland, solid three,
Mm-hmm.
and before that you had DJ Moore. Then you have Bo Nix. Bo Nix has Sutton. They tried Evan Ingram for a little bit. They got out and went to get Waddle, and they
Mm-hmm.
have the Troy Franklins and whatever. Then
Marvin
you
Mims. Don't forget about special teams hero.
Marvin Mims. I'm sorry, Bob. Then you
Pat
have Drake.
Bryant. Troy Franklin.
Now Drake May. He had a worse receiving core than Jayden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, what did they do? They went to get AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs. Now I'm not here saying Romeo
Mm-hmm.
Doubs is the king's castle of wide receivers in that free agency, but for God's sakes, you put Romeo Doubs on this roster, instantly the number 2 wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what I'm saying with the Commanders organization, short ending sticks of Jayden Daniels. Like, sure, you went out and spent money on defense. I am very, very congratulations.
They needed it. It was
They
very
needed
old. It
it.
was very
They
old
need it.
defense.
But you're telling me, in the grand scheme of things, you couldn't go out and get yourself another weapon for this guy. Chig is great.
In theory,
but
there's still a Stephon Diggs sitting out there. Do you think they take the shot on him?
At this point, we're talking about Brandon Ayuk. So, I mean, I'd rather take Stephon Diggs.
Do you think he could be a fit there? Do you think this guy could be a
hell
short-term
yeah?
solution?
I say hell yeah, and I'm saying that because he wasn't that bad in New England. I don't think he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
And you're not concerned about the age at all?
No, I mean, like, the age is always a thing.
I mean,
but
for
like,
fantasy, if he were to land on the Commanders, would you
oh,
take
would I
any
go out
sort
and
of
get
look at
him?
him?
If I had a bench spot, sure, but I'm not like here.
Or
saying
if he's on another person, or are you spending a third?
No, I'm not spending any capital. I'm sorry. That's the age is where it's at for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I can barely get myself to go after
But
Sutton.
we
Sutton
agree
for the
that
third.
he would help this team in the wide receiver room, but not necessarily our dynasty rosters.
Yeah, I think if you put him on this roster, he still would be fighting with Williams, with Lane, with Burks. Like, it's not like he's a guaranteed
Mm-hmm.
2. Ayuk, with all his craziness, would be the only one that I'd be like, maybe, just because if he's not crazy anymore, which is saying a lot.
I think the strategy, if I am the GM of the Washington Commanders, would be I'd be watching very carefully these wide receiver rooms on cut down day from around the league, and maybe poach one of these roster, casualties of maybe one of these higher end, younger prospects in the wide receiver room to bring in and just at least, entertain the idea, because anything to separate, between, I mean, the jury's out at Jalen Lane. I wasn't really high on him coming out of college in the draft process. I just thought, depending on landing spot, he could be something, but I just don't see him being any more than like a wide receiver 3 on the Commanders in the grand scheme of things for fantasy. And I think that would just be a good strategy for the Commanders, is just at least keep an eye out there and entertain the idea, if not Diggs, but bring in some other cut down casualty from another team to challenge this wide receiver room underneath Terry McLaurin and Antonio Williams and Burks.
Yeah.
I think those are the 1, 2, and 3. I think 4 is probably the fight between McCaffrey and Lane.
Yeah, and I think and you're right. I think if somebody gets cut, because there's a lot of wide receiver rooms that are very crowded right now, and they could bring in somebody. Like I noticed the Vikings room, it's a little crowded there, as well as like we've talked about in nauseum the Packers and how they have like all these wide receiver threes that you could just cut. And like right now, we don't even know if Golden's going to be on the field. Not saying he's going to get cut. I'm just saying like certain things could happen. So, and trades. I mean, these are the times where people look at their roster and they're like, you know what, we're going to cut the guy. But if we go to a Washington or a Miami and be like, hey, you want a wide receiver for a fourth? Why not? So,
I mean, I think Miami would kill to have a wide receiver right now.
Jesus Christ! If you guys haven't heard the latest whistle to whistle, we were talking about the wide receiver room in Miami.
TJ got us with one. He got us with that question.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It looks like the end of a waiver wire.
You gotta have one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I guess to wrap up this wide receiver room, I think outside of obviously Terry McLaurin, are you for your future out, not short term in this year in 2026. I think 2026 this year it's Terry McLaurin or bust. But like for the next 3 to 5 years, is there a Commanders wide receiver you're trying to actively have on your teams or on your rosters, or are you just trying to avoid this room overall in fantasy?
I think what you said was perfect. I don't think the guy that I want in future years is on the roster yet. So So I don't trust any of these guys currently. If I had to take my shot, it'd be Lane, just because I feel like Lane has.
You could probably get him for a waiver wire or for.
He's probably out there doing
free.
Yeah, and I look, I would have to watch a couple preseason games just to identify who's the second guy behind Materi or a third guy because of Chig. But I think you're right. I think the guy who we want is in the next year's draft, free agency, something like that. But and this goes to this because the perfect segue. Chig Okonkwo, the biggest free agent signing for them offensively, in my opinion, your opinion. Who had the abilities in Tennessee, who just didn't flourish in Tennessee, got short-ended of the stick in quarterbacks and offensive coordinators and head coaches. We believe he has the ability to be this year's fantasy darling at tight end. Like we've had people like to do the rookies, like we had the Bowers, the McBrides, the Laportas, but people forget like Kyle Pitts was tight end too last year because of risers and all this stuff. George Kittle came out of nowhere. We had Evan Ingram have a breakout season after he changes teams. But that's what I'm saying. It's like somebody put it to me in a very good term. It's like, remember Greg Olsen when he was on the Bears? No one really remembers that, but everybody remembers him on the Panthers. Everybody remembers like Jeremy Shockey. He was on the Giants, still had some value over in New Orleans. Tony Gonzalez, he changes teams when he's older, and he still is good with the Falcons. Chig Okonkwo, I'm not putting him in that status of those elite tight ends, but changing teams, changing philosophies, changing quarterbacks, having a payment, right, to your name where you have an actual salary and knowing what you're going to do for the next couple of years. I feel like Chig can be this year's fantasy darling. And like you said, he probably doesn't cost that much. You could probably put him on the back of your bench.
Are you giving any 2026 draft capital if you haven't done rookie drafts yet? Are you put a second?
I'm putting a second right there. It's a tight end premium. Second for sure. If it's not, still a second because
how about 2027 capital to acquire Chig Okonkwo?
That's a third and probably a player. Like if I got Chig, right? If somebody has Chig and I had say like Kincaid, I would do Kincaid for Chig and a third.
Okay. And how about getting younger at the position? If you had the Travis Kelce's, the Mark Andrews, the Hunter Henrys, the Dalton Schultz, or like an older tight end, would you get younger and try to flip them for Chig Okonkwo?
It would have to come with something else. I feel like I'm not here saying I don't like Chig because I'm here saying I like Chig, But I feel like if I'm giving up Travis Kelce, who has still the red zone threats, George Kittle, who's injured, Mark
Mm-hmm.
Andrews now without Likely, we don't know what's going to happen. He got the contract extension. I still believe he needs to be like Chig and a pick. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be a high pick. I'm saying like a third. Maybe you put Chig in a rookie I like we talked about. Yours is like the guy, the running back
Gunnar
for
Helm.
Gunnar Helm, or like a running back, like the Denver Broncos running back who's behind
Mm-hmm.
R.J. Harvey, who we all love, Freeman, something
Jonah
like that.
Coleman.
Joe McColeman, thank you. And,
Mm-hmm.
and like those are the type of trades that I like to do because I'm like, I can get younger as well as like I've got a little extra out of it, and I get out of an older situation. But for you, Tessierja, what would you do for Chicago? Are you buying? You're selling? Where you have him?
I think he's my second favorite tight end in this division of the NFC East. I think I
Oh
would
wow.
go Jake Ferguson, Chig, Dallas Goddard, and Isaiah Likely in that order for me. I would definitely invest 26 capital to get him. 27 capital, it'd have to be dependent on where the pick is at. And then I don't mind even getting younger at the tight end positions from one of those older guys to get some years back. And I just think that, he's been in tight end 20 to mid 20s purgatory first 4 years of his career. I think this is the year that he breaks the mold and he finishes as a top 12 tight end in the NFL and for fantasy. I think a fully healthy Jayden Daniels and a season on this new team and this environment that just cultivates tight ends, like it's easier than anything to do. I'm really high up on him. I think he's definitely a target for people to go after if their wide receiver room or their tight end room is either really young, like you went out and got Stowers or got Sadiq or got like a younger guy like even Delp, and you can't like or Raritan, you just can't really like commit to them fully in 2026 to be your guy. That this guy could be a solid like bridge tight end for the next year or two, to give you some fantasy output, some fantasy production, while those like rookies or younger tight ends that you have cultivate and get brought up into their systems and become fantasy relevant. I think he's just a really good guy out of this whole Washington offense to add onto rosters. And it's good to see because he was in kind of an unfortunate situation and he wasn't utilized to his proper abilities. I think he's
Yeah.
super athletic. He's a freak athlete. He's got size and speed, and he's a pretty dang good pass blocker. And I'm not threatened by these other tight ends. If you look at these other tight ends on the roster, like John Bates, I think he's a primary blocking tight end. Sinat, probably a more primary blocking tight end than a pass catcher. I mean, the path to tight end one on this roster is already set, and he's laid it on. He's got it. It's just for him to be a staple for us in fantasy. Jayden Daniels really needs to like utilize him in the red zone and in those crucial moments, like the third and longs, and like to keep the chains moving. I'm not so sure he's going to be the guy that's going to like bust a big one and have a huge yards after catch stats this year, but he's definitely going to be a guy that probably gets, I want to say 100 to 120 targets and probably around 70, 80 receptions.
Yeah, and I like that. I'm not here saying he's going to break the mold and be a top five tight end. Like we already know who are the top five this year and
Mm-hmm.
probably going to be for a little while. He could be a reliable one. He's going to be the guy where you look back in Dynasty and be like, I held on to him. Like it's like Isaiah Likely, right? We're just
Mm-hmm.
hoping these two guys, new situations, new environments, they get elevated. They get put to where their talent level, where we all saw, we're like, this guy could break tackles. This guy could do all these things. And like you said, he's now in an environment that cultivates that. It's F1 and nobody, right? It's Terry and
Mm-hmm.
no one after him. So Chig has the ability to be that guy. Whether we believe the running backs are going to catch some checkdowns or not, they still need a chain mover. And I believe Chig can do that. And for me, like you said, you asked me, it's like, what am I giving up? If it's giving up a third in either
Mm-hmm.
2026 or 2027 to require him, I think that's a steal.
Mm-hmm.
Most I'll do is a second in both those drafts because I don't think I can find somebody like Chigakongwo that's going to happen. And for the people who have Chig, if you hold on to him and he has those big games, who couldn't say you could have Chig in a second and go get McBride or Loveland or Warren or any of those guys because maybe
Mm-hmm.
people believe that, hey, Warren's having a slow start, but Chig's over here getting 101 in 2 games so far. Should I get an extra pick with a guy if Warren's not doing well because of quote unquote Daniel Jones is
Mm-hmm.
regressing? It's stuff like that that makes you think in Dynasty. That's like, hey, Chig could be this darling, and you could capitalize on your team if you want to rebuild a different way.
If you're a dynasty roster, a dynasty team, you're really looking at it and evaluating it. Are you making a move for him as a contender or as a rebuilder or both? Like, where are you more
Both.
inclined to?
So both. I think if I'm a contender, the only reason why I'm going after him is because I have McBride, Loveland,
Okay,
Warren,
you have one of the heavy
or
hitters up.
Bowers, and
Yeah.
I just need a filler, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe I can have him kind of like it's like simmering, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like, hey,
Just marinating.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he does well. I'm looking at a guy who has something I need to continue myself to the top. I'm like, hey, I have this Chigakonkwo. You want to give me X, Y, and
Mm-hmm.
Z of what I need? Now, if I'm a rebuilder, I'm having him as like maybe my tight end one. Hopefully, he
Mm-hmm.
becomes something, and then I can rebuild that way as well. It's like it's hard to find tight ends in this landscape, as well as
Mm-hmm.
tight ends who change teams, and this guy could be a gold mine at some
Could
point.
the Washington Commanders be one of those teams that go to more of a two tight end set or 12 personnel throughout the year?
You know who would be the second tight end? Ben Sinnott.
Mm-hmm.
This the we like to call him around here the snot because he can muddy some things up.
Mm-hmm.
He can
So, do
block.
you think he's a potential threat to Chig's fantasy outcome for throughout the
No,
season?
because here's the deal, right? We just talked to the wide receiver room. If
Mm-hmm.
Sanat really is something that could be something, someone who could be something, he
Mm-hmm.
has a chance to be the third guy, and it wouldn't eat into Chick's thing. I think it's just both would have good seasons. But again, Sanat had his chance last year with what's his name with Zach Ertz, and Zach Ertz still beat him out. So I'm not too worried about this tight end room. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's clear cut. Chig, they paid him the money. They want to see how he does, and they're moving forward with that. So
Do you believe Chig outperforms his ADP in 2026?
I believe so. What about you?
I believe so firmly. Yes.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a tight end, the doctors are saying go look at your boy Chigakonkwo, which leads us into our next segment, unsung heroes, baby. To share, if you don't mind, if I go first, I can tell you
Oh,
mine, and then
absolutely.
yeah.
You're the head doctor here. Let's attack it.
So my unsung hero this year, I mean, we talked about this wide receiver room, and I think I talked to him a little bit when I was talking about who I would rather have on my roster and in terms of long term. I think Jaden Lane still has the ability to move forward, right? I think he still is a guy that could catch the football outside, who could use himself inside. He had the ability coming out of college. And I think he can fight his way through this whole Williams buzz, this whole Luke McCaffrey, uh, this nonsense of like Ayuk coming and all this. I think Lane, when we look back on it, he's not going to be like this absolute alpha, but I
Hmm.
think it's going to be a guy where it's like he's decent. He's somebody who can catch the football. He'll have good games here and there, and by good games I mean like 5 for 50. But like still, you see the progression, and hopefully maybe he can turn into something. So
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
what about you?
Mine's gonna be for how I build in Dynasty and how I play the game. A contender and I'm win now, and I think my unsung hero for the Commanders this year and gonna be on my rosters is Rashad White. I think he's just gonna be a necessary man as long as he stays healthy, plays the full 17 games, and he gets the majority of the opportunities and volume in that offense. I think he's going to be invaluable for Jayden Daniels in the pass catching game on receiving downs. And I think that when they don't got a tush push and they get in close, I think he's going to be the go-to back. And I think he's going to be somewhat to agree touchdown dependent, but it's not entirely like touch. I think he's gonna have enough volume. Like I could see him finishing the year with like probably 7, 8 touchdowns, around 700, 800 yards, and like probably 30, 40 receptions. is like he could just finish as like a solid RB3 with a couple of those weeks finishing in the RB2 tier. And I just like it because in a lot of builds too, when you get late in the season and you're looking for running backs just to fill out your running back room for the playoff push and to win some hardware, you're gonna need guys like a Rashad White on your team just in case of emergency or just to hopefully get a little bit of edge on your matchups because all you need to do is win by a point, and I think Rashad White could be one of those guys in crucial matchups where he'll get you that point.
Yeah, and I love it. I think when there's a landscape for running backs, you try your best for that, right? You try to get
Mm-hmm.
those guys who can get you those necessary points. So I like both our guys. Go out there and get them. Everybody, the doctors have given their prescription for unsung heroes. So now let's talk about record. All right. You know how we start this.
Mm-hmm.
Tessierja, do you have the Commanders going to the Super Bowl?
Absolutely not.
Me too. Do you have them going to the NFC Championship game?
Absolutely not.
Me either. Do you have them going to the divisional round?
Absolutely not.
Me either. Do you have them as a wild card team?
Absolutely not.
I have them as an outside looking in team. And
Okay.
at the record of 9 wins, 8 losses.
Okay.
What
That's
about
very
you?
optimistic. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I got them finishing 5-12.
Damn!
For a top pick in the draft next year.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why I have them that high in terms of record. I think their schedule isn't as daunting. I mean, obviously, it's not as daunting as it was last year.
Well, we saw what teams could do with a cupcake schedule.
Yeah.
Patriots.
Excuse me. I also believe that Dan Quinn is going to have the defense a little bit better. And obviously, we like in certain situations they're going to have like here's a good one, like they could play they play the Bengals and like they could beat the Bengals, right? They could beat the Falcons. They could beat the Jags on any given Sunday. Colts. Like these are the games where it's like if you had to toss like a coin, like you don't know which one. Colts like is a good one. It's like either one could have a good day that day. So it's like I believe they'll have more good days than bad days, and that's why I have them that high. So
I prescribe to rather being a year late on the Commanders than a year early. Like I'll get in on them as I see how the season plays out in 2026 and evaluate their for 2027. But like I just think this year the new OC, a lot of young guys coming in the building, a lot of new faces coming in the building that they're gonna have to feel themselves out and weather some storms and get on track for 2027. That could be a better year for them. 2026 is going to be hard because, like we mentioned earlier, the Cowboys got better, the Eagles got better, and now the Giants are, throwing their weight around in the division with what they are doing over there. And I just think that one team in this division has got to have to sit at the bottom in the basement, and I just have it happen to be the Commanders.
I have it as the Giants, so that's probably why we have it the way that we have it. But all right, time for our final diagnostics. So, you guys know how we do it. We have 3 major categories, and we'll give you our grade at the end. So for me, we're going to start with the head coach and the coaching staff. For me, it's a B-. I think Dan Quinn is a good coach. I think he rights the ship this year. I feel like David Blau is going to be fine. Jones is a defensive coordinator. What about you, Tessierja?
I give it a C.
So
just because I think that Dan Quinn should be on the hot seat should this season go a little bit, the way I think it's going to go. I'm a little bit skeptical about the David Blau on the offensive side of the ball. He needs to cut his teeth and really separate himself from the Cliff Kingsbury shadow, because all year long he's going to be compared to that and what he's going to be like. What can he do for us? So, and then the defensive coordinator, I think he's just, playing with some new guys and he's going to have some new faces and it's just going to be a lot of growing pains. So I give it a modest C.
So I actually have a C for our next category. I have win now players. I mean, outside of Terry McLaurin and Jayden Daniels, we still have a lot of what ifs with Chig, with White, with all these guys. So I mean, Jayden and Terry are good to their, in their own rights, but the overall it kind of is lackluster. So I give it a C.
Yeah, a lot of these players I have on my team is just mainly for flexing. I mean, Jayden Daniels in the super flex, but I'm not depending on these guys for my anchor spots of positions. I'm more or less trying to like just hold water and get through my matchups each week if I'm having to play them.
Yeah, and then for the overall like future of the team, I have it as C minus, not typically a D. It's just because running back room is horrid. Jayden Daniels is really the only one to speak of in terms of future. Terry's what 30 something, like
Mm-hmm.
he's not the future, and then all the wide receivers are just not worth anything, and I hate to say it like that. And like we talked about it, Bob said it in the chat. It's like the running back of the future, the wide receiver two of the future, or even
Mm-hmm.
the superstar wide receiver of the future is probably not on the roster, and we don't know what Chig is. So I have it as a C minus.
Okay, that's
What
perfect.
about?
Mine's a C. I just overall have this as a C team.
I have it as a C team too. I think
Just average.
I think it's a very average team. I think I mean, heavily. I mean, C for fantasy. I will put
Mm-hmm.
it that way. Defensively, they could be very good, and
Mm-hmm.
they could be a team, like I said, have better good days than bad
I
days.
give the
Get
defense
some teams.
probably a B.
The defense is a
I
B.
like
I
the
think the
defense more than I
defense
like the offense.
exactly, and I think if Jayden Daniels is who Jayden Daniels can be, they can win some games, sneaky games.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a couple of teams in there that are playoff contenders that they could go toe to toe with and win. Like I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
their his rookie year. So I'm very excited to see this team. This is my backyard team. So Tessierja, you know what to do. Take us out, my boy. Where can they find us? What they can do after the show? Everything like that.
Yeah, so check out Dynasty DNA Fantasy Football Podcast Network on Facebook, on TikTok. We have the QR code in the top right hand corner. If you can, we're looking to get to 50 followers over there so we can start posting our live content over on TikTok. That'd be fantastic to help us grow and keep this thing flourishing amongst the fantasy football community. You can follow us at Dynasty DNA _ on X. We got the Facebook page at Dynasty DNA Fantasy Football Podcast Network. If you like to join our Discord server, we have tons of trade talks going on, roster evaluations, NFL news, dynasty leagues, and all sorts of conversations. Great fantasy football minds over there. You can ask for us the link. We can put it up in the description following this video. And you can check out our shows and our episodes on YouTube at Dynasty DNA Fantasy Football Podcast and on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Amazon, any of those great podcasting platforms at Dynasty DNA Fantasy Football. And if you do so and you're enjoying the content that we're providing for you and you're feeling entertained and educated at the same time and wanted to show us some love and support, we would greatly appreciate a 5-star and a review and dropping us a comment in the episode descriptions and tell us your thoughts on how you feel about the show and our takes and perspectives and what you feel about the content that we cover in each and every show. So without further ado, we look forward to you on the next week of Dynasty DNA Team Autopsy, and we highly encourage that you post your pick for us for next week's team to cover, because this show is going to be an off-season show. We're going to run it through the off-season, and then once the in-season kicks off, we're going to be a little bit tied down with the main stream of content for this network, so it won't be picking back up until following the finish of the NFL season. So, yeah, just any form of our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Discord, X, Facebook, wherever. Just if you want to see us talk about a team that we haven't covered already, throw it up there, and we'll choose the one we like.
Absolutely. So, from the doctor's office, we have diagnosed another team. Please give us a team this next week when we get back. Thank you guys for rocking with us. Love you guys. Keep DNA Strand and Crew. Love y'all.